Welcome back, I'm Tedward. Welcome to a cloudy, overcast day here in Michigan. I'm actually right outside the Nissan Technical Center, and we're driving for the very first time the all-new 2026 Nissan Sentra SR. There's going to be 4 trim levels, the S, the SV, the SR, and the SL. This is kind of the middler, sportier version of the car, although not a sports version. It has the same engine, same suspension, all that stuff, but you just get a sportier appearance package. But what I love about the Nissan Sentra is that it's relatively inexpensive. Cars are now averaging, for a new car, $51,000 or $52,000. It's crazy. It's so expensive, but the Nissan Sentra still creates the value power play for a decent sedan. And I do love that there's still a sedan in the market, because everyone's gone to SUVs, CUVs. What about the car? Now, the Nissan Sentra was always the lower entry-level version. I'm sorry for all of the road noise out here. I thought I had played it well, but I have not. Anyway, this Nissan Sentra is actually pretty grown up and large now. It looks more about the size of my E39 M5 than it does the little baby Nissan that it once was. But that's okay, because it's offering a lot of space and value for its clientele. The S variant starts around $22,000, all the way up to around $28,000 for the SL, the more luxury package. This SR starts at $25,000. Add $1,245 in destination handling to all of those prices, and that's what you're getting out of this. Now, this new generation, all new style, much more refined. However, you're getting the same powertrain as the previous generation, the same 2-liter 4-cylinder with the CVT. So I know there's always someone who's going to say, oh, CVT, but like, that's like going to Popeyes and saying, oh, I love the breading, but I'm not into chicken. It's a Nissan. It's a small Nissan. It's going to have a CVT. This is a very heavy hood, but a wide hood. Oh my goodness. But anyway, under here, our tried and true, reliable 2-liter, non-turbo, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder does the job. So if you understand what the powertrain is in the previous cars, well, you will understand what this is. It makes 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. Now, style-wise, this car has grown up. It's a little more modern. Let's take a look around. It's wider appearing. It has this continuous belt line from that headlight all the way to these taillights. And I've got to say, from the rear, this has Lexus IS vibes. The first time I saw the rear end of the Sentra, I really immediately went to Lexus IS. There's a little bit of Hyundai in there as well, but that's what I'm seeing. The SR has the piano black or the gloss black trim features, and that also gets you that 2-tone style with the black roof, which adds a lot. Now you can see these lights kind of going on and off because I've got the key fob in my pocket, and this car will lock and unlock and do all those fun things when you approach the vehicle, which is kind of nice. Inside, you get these great zero-gravity seats. These are standard across all trim levels. You're always gonna get a comfy seat. If you get the SL, there's like a quilted seat, but I believe the seat architecture is the same. You get the deviated stitching with the red and gray here. Get a moonroof if you opt for it, and you get some stitching along here. Now, creature comforts. This is a sub $30,000 car, so you're gonna expect it to have some maybe not exciting materials, but for the most part, everything you touch is going to be soft and appealing. This steering wheel is a nice leather steering wheel with this deviated stitching on the inside. It's a 2-spoke steering wheel, which I kind of dig. And up here you get generous cup holders. You've got some deep cavernous space in the middle for all your stuff. You can plug in your USB-C here and here, but you also have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, which is always a lovely feature. This, being an SR, gets the dual screen. I always want to go up here for the start-stop. It's on the center. You get the dual screens. This has 12.3-inch dual screens, one in the center, one for your driver. We're going to do a second startup when we get going anyway. But in the lowest S trim level, I believe you get a 7-inch screen in the center and not the 12.3. Get space for your sunnies. Take a look in the back for space. This should have pretty generous legroom. Yes, see, this is the thing about these cars. They're really building them for people to have a lot of space. But maybe the Long Cruiser helping us here, but it's maybe highlighting how quiet this is. They've refined this for this generation. And It's a little bit dark in here so you can see the blue ambient lighting, but you can actually change the ambient lighting among 64 different colors. So you can tailor this how you'd like it to feel, depending on your mood or who you're driving with. This is cozy. This is really soft and nice. I think your rear passengers are going to appreciate the room back here. But there's nothing fancy, and they're going to have to fight for a single USB charging point. There's zero gravity seats in the back as well, but there's no heated seats or anything like that. Not that we would expect this in the segment. But I just think that they've cleaned up this interior. I think it looks a little more premium than it kind of has any business being. In the boot, look at this. This is what's great about this. They've lowered the loading floor, so it's very easy to get things in and out. They said you can fit a 55-inch TV in the box through this, which is great. I like that because it means you don't need a CUV and SUV for everything. It's also got a standard 60-40 split. I don't know why I said standard. It's got a 60-40 split back here, and you can release this from here. But the only thing is, I get that the releases are there, but like, you still gotta push. This is a pre-production model, so maybe I'm just not doing this right, but I don't know how this is supposed to work, because unless I'm pushing the seat down, I guess I have to still come back here and do this, but it's still engaged. So I don't know. That's not my favorite. I don't know if I really prefer that, but whatever. You'll have all the room in the world to put your bike, to put your TV, to put whatever the heck you're hauling in your Sentra. And I like the idea of someone hauling in a Sentra. Gluing us to the road on the standard 18-inch wheel is a 215 section tire all around. There is an accessory wheel that's a little more appealing, a little sexier, but I think this does the job just fine. But let's get out and drive the Sentra, because we already know what this powertrain is. I'm expecting it to be slightly more refined, but the chassis, this is what I'm really interested in. Have they made this a better driving experience? So let's get out there and see what it's like to drive in normal Michigan traffic and see if it's quiet or refined or fun. And once again, we'll get away into our insulated entry-level Nissan, away from all of the long crews, because they just follow me around. All right, let's get this thing started up. I've got the key here, our start-stop button in the center console, foot on the brake. Our dual 12.3-inch displays come to life. We've got a lovely shifter here, a normal shifter. I really appreciate this. I don't like finicky buttons and things, especially in sedans and cars like this. I just want to know where the things are, and this gives me all the control I need, especially when I back out of my driveway. I love being able to just go click, click, and not have to hunt for a button, especially in a 3-point turn, that kind of stuff. We've got Apple CarPlay here, so we're good to go. We can follow our Google Drive route. The first thing I'm noticing on this first impressions drive is all the knee room. I've got the steering wheel up quite a bit, but honestly, I feel like I have so much space in here. It's kind of nice. It's also feeling relatively quiet at first glance. We'll find out once we get on Michigan highways, because those are typically very loud and unpleasant. Has a normal style blinker, and when I say that, I mean that it's not a toggle like I've got in the Armada that I'm currently driving while I'm out here in Michigan. That drives me nuts. Just give us normal stuff. So I appreciate the Sentra having a normal style blinker. It's just a click and a click. Holds position. All the materials that I'm touching are pretty decent. Like, I love the steering wheel. First and foremost, you've got to have a good steering wheel. I think Hyundai really set the bar in this department when they started kind of adding luxury touches to value vehicles, and now everyone's kind of playing ball, which I appreciate, because typically in really, you know, inexpensive vehicles for entry-level markets, they're going to give you that terrible, like, plastic vinyl feeling thing like you would have gotten in a Cavalier in the late 90s. But no, today, luckily, entry-level cars are getting confident, comfortable things that actually make you excited to get in and touch the car. Not gonna wow you with speed or power, but smooth delivery. And I have to hand it to the CVT. The tuning does feel refined and nice. It's still giving us a fake shift, which we'll get into once we get on the highway. The CVT still gives a fake shift, and the reason I call this out is it's for the driver. This is not a dig at Nissan. This is a dig at everybody who makes a CVT. The purpose of a CVT is to be a continuously variable transmission, so you'll always be able to make the most of your powertrain by staying within the peak torque range, where you need the torque, where you need the power. So if you go wide open, what should occur in a CVT is it should basically just hold you at a certain RPM, because you're getting the most out of that ICE engine, and you're using this continuously variable thing to basically give you an infinite gear ratio. Well, what they do, though, because it makes people uneasy, is they end up giving you fake shifts, because it makes people feel strange that their car just sits at red line and doesn't make any other noises. So that's just part of the game. I get it, but here, we'll get off the line again. So that reduction in RPM is simply a fake shift occurring through that CVT. That's all. That's all. Look at the Fiat 124. Very cool. Okay, you didn't buy a Sentra for speed, though, and you probably didn't buy it because you're hunting for some fancy transmission or some 6-speed manual thing. No, you're buying this because it's like a good, reasonable value play for transportation, but it's also not a penalty box. And actually, perfect timing. We'll speed up a little bit. We'll get up because I think the Chevy Trax plays the exact same game, where the previous generation Chevy Trax did feel like a penalty box. It didn't feel like a very nice car. And now you get in that car and it's a value play CUV, and you can be proud to drive it. You're not going to be embarrassed to put, your coworkers, your colleagues, other passengers, go on a date with it. This Sentra is kind of doing that same thing. So its place in the market revolves less around performance and more around perceived luxury and features, technology, things that people want out of a car. Apple CarPlay, decent materials, decent fuel economy, a relatively luxurious interior with low NVH, noise, vibrations, and harshness while you're on the highway, while you're commuting, because no one wants to spend all this money on a car and then still be like bombarded with annoying noises while you're driving to work every day. And what I can report so far is that this is a reasonably quiet cabin. This is good. This is a good place to be. Cannot see around this Nissan van. It would have been very fun to achieve maximum speed on this. Does not appear to be the case. Yeah, maneuverability is fine. This is a really natural, ergonomic car to jump in and drive. the steering feels pretty nice. Actually, it feels more luxurious than it has any business being. They've damped it to a point where it feels more akin to a luxury sedan than a darty, cheap-feeling economy car, which A+ work for their target audience on this and their intended purpose for this car. I gotta say, like, right off the bat, I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed with the Sentra. I know that they've carried over the drivetrain, and I know that that might be disappointing to some people, but it's tried and true. Nissan needs to make money, and they're not gonna go spend $1 billion on a new powertrain just because there's a new generation. But what they did do is they made the Sentra better. And it was already a pretty decent car, but now it feels like it's got another level up. And the fact that this is still starting under $30,000 for every trim level. Ooh, we've got a couple fun-colored BMWs E92s over here. Yellow and orange. That must be, ooh, that's the Lime Rock Park edition. Very cool, right? Yeah, it's gotta be. Unless it was a wrap and I've been duped, which is also fine. Let's jut in over here. Fine, reasonable handling, not howling tires, although I'm not pushing too hard, but I'm not babying it. Interior space, it feels like a proper sedan. It feels, it's funny what's an entry-level small sedan these days, because this is probably the size of like my E39 M5, which was a mid-size sedan in 2001, and now here we are. This is the entry level. I really like that wherever my elbows go is a decent surface. It's not ultra padded, but it's kind of like the Buick Envista, where it's got just enough padding down here where it's not going to irritate me over time. Same with this center console, this little guy. Nice armrests, decent armrests. They're making the most of economy stuff in a price range, and I think that's really valuable. Also, I really dig that when I want to do stuff on my display, I have a great place to put my hand, whether it's here or here, because when you're floating, it can be really difficult to hit buttons. And so I'm finding myself like having the ability to do the things I need to do with the center display with stability. How's that? Handling wise, I think this is formidable. This does the job. It's not too soft, it's not too stiff. I actually think this manages bumps really well, and we're on the standard wheel, not the accessory wheel. I actually love that we're just driving through Michigan right now on a normal day at 1:15 p.m. because this kind of gives you the idea of what a commute would be like in this car. This is what it's going to do. All day, every day, you're just going to drive it to work and back, go on some weekend trips, do your normal thing. It's going to be your transportation. Don't really want to go off-roading with the Sentra right now. It's going to give us an excuse to get on throttle. It can sometimes be a little lurchy on those shifts, but I don't know. If you drive it appropriately, it's fine. And I do think that they've improved the tuning of this transmission a bit. So I'm genuinely not complaining. I know that there's been comments, though, about the longevity of these CVTs. So that's a totally different story. And that's where maybe you want to rely on someone like Consumer Reports to do more long-term testing or owners. Because, one of the greatest things about a car like this, when you get a new generation and they've retained a powertrain, you're not trying to discover what this powertrain and transmission is going to be. You actually already know what it is, so you can tell if it's going to be what you want by looking at forums and Facebook groups to see how are the owners at high mileage dealing with these things. Let's take a look through these displays. Oh, I love this. We get our tire pressures. I've definitely hit some bumps in my day where I immediately go to this screen on these cars where you're like, ugh, is this going to start descending? Let's see. We've got Ida Maria on on CarPlay right now. Very cool. Look at that. You get a minimal display if you'd like that. Pretty good. I do wish there was like a feature where it gave me like a normal tachometer and things like that, but this is fine. This is doing the job. I love a fuel economy since start display. It's literally the only thing that matters to me because I want to know, like, how am I doing on this particular drive? This is an interesting setup, this slip road. It's like the dream intersection. Once in a while, you really start to appreciate. Well, actually, let's just do from a dig. This is nice and straight. There's no one out here. Okay, so you're 0 to 60, and this is not going to stun your passengers or yourself, really. But like, look. Like I said, this is designed to be the value play with some luxury items and technology. And part of the concession of a car like that is you're not getting a 200-300 horsepower engine. You're getting, 140, 150 horsepower. Oh, forgot to switch drive modes. Let's go into sport mode. Wow, giving us the downshift. Missed my turn. All right, so we're gonna get a turning radius test of this in a minute because I am gonna do a U-turn. Let's see, this is a really safe place to try this because I have so much room on both sides, and I'm gonna try not to hit this. This is where this shifter is coming in handy. See what I'm saying? Not having to hunt for buttons, just knowing where gears are by feel. That's all we want out of a car. Steering ratio is fantastic even. I'm not having to chase the wheel. I don't think it's too sharp. This is just actually tuned in and dialed properly. You can tell that the Nissan engineers are really focused on a driving experience with this car. And maybe that's where development costs went, because they didn't have to come up with a new powertrain. They were able to really just dial in the drivability of this car. So it's going to show that they definitely tested it. But you're probably going to spend most of your time driving this on the highway commuting. So let's get it on a proper highway and see how it behaves. In the SL trim level, the higher trim level, you're able to get the Pro Pilot Assist. This one, though, does have all kinds of safety features to make sure that you're not going to bump into anybody. But let's get on here. Go. It's doing some automatic braking for me to maintain speed and not to hit the truck in front of me. These are loud highways, kind of like LA. Michigan has really loud surfaces, and yeah, this is not particularly intrusive. I'd be very happy to drive in this for many hours. This is a decent road trip vehicle in terms of sound. Got the fuzz coming up behind us. I don't know, they're taking somebody down. It's not us. On the highway, you can start to really get an idea of why this two-spoke steering wheel works, because you can find comfortable places to hold this. And on a long drive, sometimes it is just really nice to be able to put your hand here in the center. I'm not recommending that. I think you should be holding the wheel at 10 and 2 or 9 and 3. But on a long drive, yeah, sometimes you do find yourself in positions where maybe it's not your race car stance, but you just want to hold the wheel in a different way, in a more comfortable way, in a more relaxed way, give yourself a break in certain places. But yeah, this is it's kind of nice. Great visibility. It's sometimes tricky to see everything out the back just because that trunk line is pretty tall, but on a highway it's fine. It's more like if you're backing out of your driveway, you're definitely going to need to rely on these cameras. So as we're pulling in here to the Nissan Technical Center to finish off our drive, let me give you a few final thoughts on the first impressions of the all-new 2026 Nissan Sentra. I think the value play in this car is strong right now because with average new car prices being around $50,000, it's really, really heartening to see a strong sub $30,000 car. In fact, this starting sub $25,000 for the lower trim levels is a really nice thing to see in the market. Not to mention the fact that we're not just seeing some tin can econobox that is no joy to exist with, look at, or drive. This is actually a fairly refined vehicle that I'm having a good time driving around. This is not just rental car vibes. This is actually a decent thing to own and operate, I think. Now, I'm saying this from a driving impression standpoint. You're going to have to do your research on longevity and reliability and all that good stuff. But the fact that this is fairly not complex in terms of its engine, there's no turbo, it's not a hybrid system, there's no additional batteries and any of that stuff, that bodes well for reasonable maintenance. The CVT, I know I've seen people talk about CVTs in Nissans for years on my comment section saying, oh, mine's fine, mine's not, this and that. These are things that you're going to have to, kind of work through and see what level of risk and what level of reliability you're willing to take on. But what I can say is that despite this new generation of Nissan Sentra not having a brand new powertrain, not having a new transmission, not having some fancy hybrid system, I think that actually makes it more robust because they were able to focus on just making the car better. I think this car is better than its predecessor, and maybe the style of the old one fits you better, maybe the style of the new one fits you better, but what I can say is I think the driving experience is superior to the previous generation Sentra, and that's nice. That's nice, especially because I'm always rooting for Nissan. Nissan's gone through it. They've had some times, they have not always had the easiest time over the past decade, and I want them to win. I want to see good things from this company, and right now I feel like this is a pretty good step in utilizing what is in the toolbox to make a better driving experience for its customers at a reasonable price. So anyway, hopefully we'll get to spend more time in something like this. I want to do like a really long road trip in one of these just to suss it out and feel it out. But so far, I'm feeling okay. Feeling pretty good about this. So go check one out. Maybe you've never considered one of these. Maybe you'll drive it and you won't consider it. Maybe you'll drive it and you'll say, hey, I didn't know these were kind of good. And maybe it's just what fits in your price range, but I think it's going to appeal to a wide variety of people. Not necessarily enthusiasts, but I think someone who likes cars, doesn't want to be in a penalty box, wants some good standard features, wants some good, comfy, nice seats. These zero-to-gravity seats are really doing the job for me. But maybe doesn't have the budget for like an EV or some fancy hybrid or something, or just wants the simplicity of a little four-cylinder that can. So that's going to do it. Thank you to Nissan for bringing me out to Michigan to drive this thing. I really appreciate that, and I'm glad I got to share it with you today. So thanks so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Let's do a little car spotting while we're on the Nissan property. I just saw something over here that was of interest to me. There it is. Look at this. Z1 Motorsports. Man, I haven't seen that in a long time. We've got a camouflaged SUV. Looks like a Rogue over here. That's all, or Murano. That's a Murano. What else we got? Ooh, okay. All right. Maybe I'm not supposed to show any of this, but hey, we might as well drive through. New hood on a Frontier. Yeah, all the facelifts are coming, it appears. And you know what's funny is I'm currently driving the new Nissan Sentra, and those are camouflaged Nissan Sentras. So I think we're beyond the expiration date of that. What's this? That must be a Murano. I think there's more over here. Ooh, now that's my new favorite. I like what's going on here. What are you? Huh. Very interesting. Okay. I have such a thing for camo vehicles. I don't know what it is. I don't know, maybe it's like the excitement of a surprise, of something new. Getting to see something before it's like hitting the market. It's always very exciting. And I just like the intent of knowing that they've got to test it on real roads. They've got to get it out there, but they don't want everyone to know what it really looks like. I think that's really fun.